Vidya, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to do with your permission, Simran, a slightly more long format introduction because I think the backstory is important, and all of you can take. My role really here is to prompt you, I guess. And so I'll just start with a longer pre-read for the audience, if you may, so that we can just dive straight into the questions. Vidya is born and raised in a small town near Coimbatore, and like me is proud South Indian. And she has grown from Tamil medium schooling all the way till 12th, then went on to do her engineering in a government engineering college in Coimbatore once again, and never had access to computer labs till very late in her engineering education. She was raised in a typical South Indian family where both her parents were teachers, and she grew up hearing, she says, just one constant message at home, which is do what you love and pour your heart into it. Vidya always knew she wanted to do science and maths, and she began her career as a software engineer in Texas Instruments, where she met both her co-founders, Bhaskar as well as Srini. Together, Bhaskar is also, incidentally, Vidya's better half and husband. Oh, sorry, Vidya is the better half, so Bhaskar is the other half. Correction. And the three of them together started Impulseoft way back in 1999, which was their first startup together. They had like an all-cash exit to a NASDAQ-listed firm and decided that they wanted to do second time around something much, much bigger. And that in 2008 became Amagi. I think Amagi is really about turning what I like to call dense technological standards and is a true product-first company. Today, Vidya is the co-founder as well as the CTO, and she stands out really as amongst the far and few women of a publicly listed company and equal founding shareholder. I think that the word equal founding shareholder is also really important. And really, I'm one of the original India to global SaaS and software product companies. Under Vidya's leadership, Amagi has really grown into a company that powers over 7,000 channel deliveries for top media companies. They've also won an Emmy Award, and they're backed, of course, by global as well as large Indian PE/VC investors. And as we know, in January 2026, they successfully listed. The business has also turned PAT positive. I think some of us, especially in the early stage, really dream of both revenue growth, almost a 10x EBITDA growth, and more recently PAT positive as well, showing a very clear shift to profitable scale. Through all of it, Vidya stayed rooted in the mindset that she often speaks about, which is let's just focus on real problems, continuous learning, and let competence and not gender define your place in the room. So on that note, a very, very warm welcome to you, Vidya.
Thank you, Anjali, for the kind words. And thank you, Winpe organizing team, for inviting me here. I was telling Anjali that until she called me, I did not know about Winpe, but now I learnt about this organization. I always used to wonder why there are very less women in investing. And now I see that we are not less, we are growing. That's great. That's great to hear.
Awesome. Vidya, I've really made this, let's say, 3 parts. Want to start with what you do best, which is business and product. And then the second half really is about the almost like 2 decades long partnership that you've had with Bhaskar and Srini as a founding team. So let's do org and say founders. And then finally, of course, some words of advice, tips and tricks, and help all of us be better investors and the founder perspective to that. So on that note, happy to get started. Really want to start with the backstory to Amagi, and of course, the Impulseoft journey is well documented. But how did 3 engineers who started a Bluetooth wireless audio company think of getting into the media space?
So our first company, Impulseoft, was small. We were totally only 55 people. And what we built was actually, I think by the time we started the company, when we started, we were 24-year-old. So we had no idea what we wanted to do. So we just started and Bluetooth came in, and then we started reading the specs, found it interesting, then built software around that, and finally built Bluetooth headsets. If you see at that time, right, like there used to be a device called iPod, so which is the precursor to your iPhone. So in that iPod, we used to provide the Bluetooth software by which you can stream to the headset. So when we played that software, when we played wireless music through that, the first feeling I got as an engineer was, wow, it sounds great. So that is the one which led us to, sell the product more and more to several customers, including Sony Ericsson, Apple, and several others. And then when we exited, we were still very small. Like, we were just a 55 people company. And then we exited in about 2005, I think, 5 or 6. And then we were there with a NASDAQ-listed company called SIRF. They were integrating Bluetooth and GPS together. So we were with them for 2 years. So when we started Amagi, we had 3 fundamental goals. The first goal was we wanted to build something which is revolutionary, which is disruptive. So that's the first goal we had. Second one, we wanted to build a billion-dollar business out of India. Not in millions, but in billions. The third one that we wanted to do was, the previous company, Impulseoft, was all around the world. We went to Japan, we were in US, we were in EMEA, all kinds of places. So we thought that we'll do it in India, for India. So these were the 3 goals with which we started.
And at what point in that journey did it go from, hey, with 3 of us building a really cool product, to today where literally if something breaks, millions of people in the US, their screens will go blank. So when did it go from, I would say, cottage industry scale to millions of viewers in the US that you're enabling streaming for them?
No, that's a very good question. I have to give you all some history to understand this. So 2008-9 we started. In fact, this company was started in NSR cell in Bangalore, which is inside IIM Bangalore. It was funded by NSR, Mr. NSR, NS Raghavan, co-founder of Infosys. So when we started the company, we wanted to do ad insertion, localized ad insertion, where we can see different ads for different people. So today that's possible in the OTT, but at that time in 2009, it wasn't there. And we wanted to do it, and first we looked at BSNL at that time, because that was the only IPTV provider. And then we figured out that they had a sum total of 40,000 connections, which meant that it's not possible to use their service. Then slowly we kind of went into a phase where we will do geo-targeted advertising. We grew that business of geo-targeted advertising. Basically what that means is, let's say you're watching a cricket match in Mumbai. So you will see a Mumbai-specific ad. Somebody is watching in Delhi, they will see Delhi ad. Someone is watching in Coimbatore, they will see Coimbatore-specific ad. So it's a local ad played in national TV channel. So we started with that business, and we grew that business till about 250 crores, working with the TV channels as well as with advertisers. However, there was one fundamental flaw in that business. The fundamental flaw was that we couldn't scale that business because it was intrinsically making the TV channels, it was cannibalizing their own business. So what was happening was the CEO would love our business and say, hey, Amagi, please take spots from us and sell locally. The salesperson will feel it to be counterintuitive. I'll give you one example, an interesting example. So I know how many of you know that Horlicks, the brand Horlicks, is very popular in Tamil Nadu and in West Bengal, especially in Calcutta. The reason, I think it's advertising. I don't know whether you all have seen it. One young kid like your son would come in, and then he'd be drinking Horlicks, and the mother will say, that's why you're brilliant, or something like that. There is the ad. And somehow it caught onto the mind of people, and I think also the taste or whatever, but Horlicks was very popular in Tamil Nadu, similar with West Bengal. So the GSK company used to buy the spots from Amagi rather than from their national sales team. So slowly they were losing, their national sales team was losing business. So they started putting a lot of constraints, and eventually it kind of ended up choking our business. We were in a situation where we were growing the business, but we were not profitable. So at that point in time, right, we decided to go international. We said that, hey, enough of doing Indian advertising. Let's go international and let's see whether the software that we have built can be sold as software rather than running it as a market. In the Indian market, we were also buying the ad spot. We were also doing ad sales. So we thought that in international, we cannot afford to do that. We don't have the money to do it. So let's first do it as software. And we built the whole software on Amazon Cloud, AWS. So we thought that we can do the same thing to run a 24/7 channel. And we had a few customers. For example, here, even now, B4U is Amagi's customer. Z is Amagi's customer. So there were some customers in pockets in APAC, and then we had some customers in EMEA, especially in UK as well. However, we did not have large customers. So that is when we were feeling that we are a small business. And 2018, one of the co-founders, Srini, moved to US. Mainly because of us pushing him to US. We said that even in our previous company, US is where we started. US at least recognizes new technology. Why don't you go and start? The whole key name to fame of Amagi is that If you go to, even now, if you go to a lot of TV channels here in Mumbai, right, I've been to every one of the TV channels here. So if you go to their office, you will see huge uplink satellites, antennas, and there'll be a room full of hardware they were using to actually uplink their content. So Amagi's name to fame was, Amagi said that you don't need any of those hardware. You don't need any of those. You just give us the content and you tell us what is the playlist that you want to play, and we will create a linear channel for you. A linear channel is nothing but something that runs 24/7. It's called linear channel. So this is our thesis, and this is what we gave to Indian broadcasters and then to EMEA and so on. Eventually in 2018, OTT was coming up. The streaming was coming up. Exactly at that time, I think by God's grace, we were there at the right place in the right time. So people wanted to monetize outside YouTube. So they came to Amagi and they said that, hey, can you create a linear channel for us using your software? And they had never seen all the hardware that existed. They are all YouTubers. So because of that, Amagi picked up. Slowly we had 10 customers, 20 and 30 and so on. And I think the biggest breakthrough for Amagi came when NBC Universal, the world's largest broadcasting company, signed with Amagi for Cloud Playout and started moving their channels to Amagi. So it grew and grew, and whenever NBC Universal came in, there's something called a service level agreement we have. Service level agreement is the uptime of the channel. That is, let's say, imagine you're watching IPL through us, and then something happens, there is a blackout, and you didn't know what happened and the match ended. How bad it will be. So for any of those errors which go wrong, right? It could be blackout, it could be unwanted content playing, it could be a subtitle missing. For all of those, there are penalties. So we used to sign contracts which had those penalties, vouching for the software that nothing will go wrong. And we had to take care of redundancies and several complications which come through that. Eventually, we ended up playing Olympics for NBC Universal, and then we ended up playing the last Super Bowl in the US was played through Amagi. So those times, right, I mean, it's like kind of goosebumps, right? Like in the night, you don't sleep, you still keep watching that content. Even though I don't understand what is the NFL, I still keep watching it because it should not go down. So that's the story.
So, but all the way back more than 10 years ago, I would say you were the original India to US and really built out that SaaS corridor. And how did you get to that scale? And take us through some of the first few conversations with American customers, with maybe events and doing the conference circuits, and really about, in the absence of like proximity to the US market and building product from Bangalore, what was the early days of the India-US SaaS corridor playbook like?
Amagi's story is an exciting story. So I will tell you some interesting bits of it. I think in 2015 or 16, we decided to display our product in a big show called NAB show. It's called National Broadcasting Show. It's the largest show in the US for broadcasting. So we had a table like this, a small table, and we covered it with cloth and put some banners and all that. And we had a laptop in which we were showing the whole TV channel running. So, and we were two of us who were there, who carried in fact, we carried all the things to set the whole thing up. And then we had a great success rate. 2 people visited our booth. In that, one of them became our customer. So we had 50% success. You cannot have more success than this. So that is how the journey started. So we went to the shows, we displayed our products. One thing that I always appreciate about especially the US market is that they're very open to new ideas. They do not discount you just like that. Yes, there's a need for introductions, there's a need for, and you cannot get into the largest account without the right team and so on. But they listen, they openly listen to everything. So that's how we got in the first customer. And then as we got in more customers in other countries, one of the biggest challenges Amagi had is they wanted local people, especially given that this is a very touchy business. Means if something goes wrong in the playout in the middle of the night, they want to call someone and talk. If the whole thing is sitting in Bangalore, India, or in Delhi, and somebody speaks to say, "Kya chahiye aapko?" It doesn't help, right? So they were really, really scared. They wanted local teams' presence. So by about 2021, when there was COVID, I had to go to US, set up the local team. We set up a local professional service team in the US, which could take care of customers, whether it's pre-sales or post-sales or support. All of those were set up. Now they are about 100 people team supporting the customers in most places, including Latin America. And that's how the whole journey began. This is a vertical SaaS business, unlike a horizontal SaaS. So it's extremely, extremely important, to have the touch and feel of the local business. Otherwise, it's not easy to win.
I think even as a founder, you had to go from being close to core to being close to your customer, and you also doubled hat for a long time, and until recently as also the Chief Customer Success Officer. Take us to that transition as well for you as intrinsically a technologist to now for customer success and winning customers.
It was exactly due to the reason that you asked in the previous question. So many times customers in other countries felt that, hey, they don't know who we are. They don't know why they have to believe us. So one of the co-founders themselves have to be the customer success officer to tell the customer saying that, don't worry, if there is any problem, I'm available for your call. So you please call me and I will make sure that gets resolved. So I had to do that in the early days. So that's why I was a customer success officer until the team which I built stabilized and got into a state where I could hand over. I was doing that job. Also, being customer first, right, helps you to understand what they are looking for. Sometimes as technologists, what can happen is that you end up building some technology which only you feel is great, but may not be useful to the customer. So it really solves the problem coming from the customer end of it. I would always urge any technologist, anybody who's building products, to start with the customer, to validate your ideas early with the customer.
Interesting. So I think that I have to ask you the relevance in the AI era question. I think that's just become a mandate now. But you recently released the AI artwork engine as well, and things are moving at breakneck speed. I think you yourself have quoted before that the speed at which models can now spit out creative content is much faster than ever before. How do you see this playing out specifically, given you also are like selling to media houses who are producing original creative content?
So we are doing two things actually. One is that our existing products, we are agentifying it to give it to our customers. So for example, let's say our existing product is a large software product. It's a platform. It has a lot of screens and it does a lot of things. We also created a digital twin by which someone can log into the platform and not see any of those complex screens, but can ask, what should I do today? And the system would tell, as per their role, what to do and what to continue and so on. We gave an agentic interface, conversational interface for those products. We also worked on new AI-first products. So for example, can we create a product which takes live news and automatically curates the content and creates social media clips or creates summaries or creates web articles that can be posted, completely eliminating manual human labor. So this is something that we produced. In one of media things is that people watch the content 24/7 in order to make sure that it reaches us in a way in which we all consume. We take it for granted. All of us watched yesterday's IPL match, right? So we just take it for granted. We do not know the nuances of what happens inside. But there's a lot of manual work that goes into monitor those feeds. So we built AI agentic-based software by which that monitoring can be automated. And we are building several tools by which a 16:9 content, that is a content which is meant for TV format or the screen format here, could be made as 9:16 verticalized for mobiles. Right? And similar things done for sports and so on. We do not wrap the features which exist on Google or an OpenAI directly to a product. We build life into the product because we know what our customers want.
Interesting. And as a just shifting gears now to a founding team. This is like almost your third decade together, the three of you as founders. And again, from an investor lens, I would say most reasons for portfolio companies not working out is invariably, founder separation events. And it's either because there's a disagreement on vision in the early days or just burnout, through this journey. What has really been the secret formula to the three of you staying together through Impulseoft and now Amagi, literally from seed all the way to IPO?
I think it's a deep-rooted relationship. Actually, Srini was my benchmate in college, and Bhaskar is my classmate. So we know each other for more than 30 years. I can clearly sense when something is wrong with the person or when something is going different with the person. That is one. And second thing is that we always believe that others can make mistakes, and we would just say that's okay, that life goes on, and we would just continue. I strongly believe, for example, I would strongly tell founders to find co-founders. I feel that it's extremely important to work as a team because entrepreneurship is a very lonely journey, and if you don't have people to share with, it makes your life very difficult.
And Vidya, you're actually a child of both parents who were teachers. Yeah. And I would describe a teacher as someone who makes complicated things like easy to understand, and of course, just passing on knowledge and knowledge sharing. But growing up in that household, what are some of those early, childhood playbooks, if I may, that you see yourself applying day to day as you built and scaled Amagi as an org?
So I think my parents taught me only one thing: do first principle thinking. So what that means is, like, let's say I want to build something. Until I clearly understand it, I don't think I can build it, nor can I explain it to others to build it. So I use that all the time in everything that I do. I can give you an example. Yesterday, I think Google released a paper in AI called Turbo Quant. I just looked at the paper. I didn't understand what they were actually trying to do. Then I went deeper and deeper and made sure that I really know what is quantization, like all the techniques that they've used in that. What is it? I had to understand. And by doing that first principle thinking, by questioning why something came in, by understanding it from the bottom of it, you will make progress. So this is something that in this day and age, we tend to lose sight of. That's why I'm repeating that. That is what my parents taught me.
And just as a woman founder in the room, what are your own, like, I would say, personal board of directors or mindsets or even support systems that you've had to scaffold around yourself just to get through these couple of decades?
Yeah, so I was blessed with the perfect family support that I can get. My mother-in-law is an amazing individual who supported me till now. Right, I have two sons. One is 20-year-old and the other one is 18-year-old. I couldn't have, brought them up if not for her support and my father's support. My mother passed away in the early stages. So I had excellent family support. That's one of the main reasons why, I could do things till now. And I hope that all of you get that support. And I always look at my family and my extended family as something that to rely upon. And that comfort gives you, freedom to come and, go to different cities, different countries, do things without having, a doubt in your mind saying, what will happen to my children?
I think you've often spoken about how in college you had curfew limits and you couldn't really get access to the computer lab because after 6 p.m. you can't go there while your male classmates could code through the night. I'm sure there have been several other such constraints that you've had to navigate. Take us to how do you wrap yourself around those moments?
I don't listen to anything so which constrains me. The example that Anjali is giving is like this. So the other two co-founders and some more friends of me who probably knew computers long ago, in the second year of computer science, were coding through their heart and building beautiful applications. One of them built Mandelbrot set. It's a kind of a, I should say, a fractal pattern, and showed it to us and saying, see how this fractal pattern works. And I did not know anything. I don't know the language, I don't know anything. And here is the guy who is showing all of this, and I'm supposed to know all of those. So I had no other choice except to sit and do. And my college had a restriction saying that at 6:30 all the girls have to return back to the hostel. I protested, then I argued with the warden, and then the next day my father came saying that I have packed my bags. I'm now coming from that small city where he was living to Coimbatore in order to take me out at the day scholar. That is the kind of support I had. They always believed in what I did, and they used to tell me that do what you love and love what you do. So that's how I came out. And after that, I never looked at any of those constraints. I did not, if there is a constraint, I'll find a way around it, and I will get going with it. Just to kind of give you an idea, like when I was working, I think when Amagi was formulated in 2009, we went to Mr. NSR and asked for funding when I was 4 days away from my delivery. So till then I was working, and after that, after my child was born, I gave him the time that's needed, 3 months or 4 months, and then after that, I still used to go to office and work, because one thing I realized about myself is that if I stopped working, I wouldn't be normal. So for me, I wanted to do it because I loved what I was doing. And, everyone in the family supported it. So I think we all as women know to find ways, whenever there is a problem, we know how to still go over it, right? Like today morning, or let's say a maid didn't come or something happened due to which I had to cook and then take the flight and come in, right? I would finish it. I'll wake up at 4 o'clock, finish it and come, right? There's no point cribbing about it, so. Yeah.
Also want to talk briefly about now like culture and org building, given the scale at which Amagi is. You have global offices, as you were saying, you serve like global top 100 media brands, over 700-800 employees. What are like the original vision and mission and values that have stayed since the Impulseoft days, and what are the ones you've also had to leave behind and evolve on with the times?
I'll first talk about what we had to leave behind and evolve. For a long time, I think till about 2015, when we went to the international show, we did not have titles. Nobody had any title. The back of the card said what you do. So my card used to say, I'm an engineer, I solve problems. So like that, everybody had card like that. But then as the company grew, we had no other way because international sales came in and said, I need to be given director, some VP, all those kind of things came in, and we had to put in titles. That is one that we had to leave behind. But the value system of Amagi stayed on. So basically, we created 4 values for ourselves. Right? The first one is basically think macro, do micro. Very much like what I was telling. So basically, you can be at a director level or VP level. That is think macro. You're looking at a strategy, but still do things at a micro level. So that is one that goal we had. Second one we had is the value is be vulnerable. That is, let's say I'm working with you. I did something wrong. I should have the courage to come and say, Anjali, I did it wrong. So it should not be like always you're politicizing and you're trying to figure out how to escape out of it. So we built that's the second value. In fact, we used to do skits to tell people what does it really mean. Because we felt that it's very important for people to understand those values. It's not just value written in a mug or put in some notice boards. It's a value that we want you to practice. So the third one was customer first thinking. So be always customer centric and customer first. That was the third thing. And yeah, so those were our values. And we live up to those values, and we expect every employee to live up to the values. And when we had a challenge converting an employee to follow the value system, we would work with them, do it for some time, and if it still doesn't work, we part ways. Because we feel culture is what makes Amagi unique.
Very interesting. I think I want to go back to that product-led thinking that you spoke about earlier, because of a lot of us are investors in the room who routinely now see founders walking in saying they're building an AI native product. But from the founder side, advising an early stage, like the VC side of things, how do you evaluate an early stage product when AI wrapper is the most loosely thrown around word right now? But how do you really distinguish from a pure evaluation lens, the early stage, in terms of sticking to first principles on product protocols versus building wrappers around third-party models?
I think in this day and age, investing in software companies is actually a challenge. The reason is that anything that you build, right, it can be replicated. It can be disrupted. It can be challenged. For example, some of the investors of Amagi were asking me in another meeting, saying that, why do you think you can remain as Amagi and still win? So the reason why they're asking that question is they believe that we could be disrupted by another software which is released by Claude or something like that, right? So understanding that value, what that product brings, is very important. And you need to feel convinced about it. And even if you're convinced, at least talk about it to a few others to see whether there is any more objections that are coming in. Because it's very, very important to understand that. That is first one. Second one, let's say that you are convinced with the product and the TAM and the SAM and all of those, you have looked at it and you're sure that this product is going to work. Then look at the team. Is the team capable of turning around even if this product fails? Or is the team going to, kind of crumble down because of some other reason? I mean, I know that these are very easily said and very difficult to understand, but this is something to look for. Ability to pivot, ability to take, to turn around faster, right? Ability to experiment, and more importantly, like in the given any business, right? Need not be only software. What is the core strength, and why should the team win? That right to win has to be very, very clear. If that is not there, then it's very difficult to know why would you succeed.
Also, from now transitioning from seed, VC, PE to now a publicly listed company, at a founder level, what really changed for you? I know it's still early days, literally your first quarter as a public company, but in the run-up maybe, what are like some of the fundamentals that change for you day to day in terms of how you ran the company? And of course, you're now moving from thinking maybe in years or even decades to now quarters. But how did you trade off some of these balances on product-led, say, investments and to the realistic challenges of quarterly earning calls?
We still remain very grounded. We do not wear that public company hat, but our CFO would still worry about the free cash flow to, the numbers which are committed to the market in terms of revenue and profitability and so on. But we still remain very, very grounded. For example, just because an investment, the investors or the shareholders think that something has to be sold in a certain way, we wouldn't do it unless we are convinced that that's the right way to do it. And if they convince us, fair enough, we'll have an open mind to listen, but otherwise we will do what we think is right. That still remains as is. But we do look at all the numbers very, very seriously. We try to estimate the numbers at least 2 to 3 quarters in advance.
Interesting. As founders, what are some of the hardest conversations you've had?
The first hardest conversation we had in Amagi was, I think in 2014. We were doing 250 crore business, and one day we had to go to our private investors, and including Premji Invest, I think Mayfield Partners, and one more Emerald Media partners. So to all 3 of them, we had to go and say, we want to pivot this business. Okay, how will you pivot? What is the other business doing? How much of revenue are making with the international business? Less than 1 million. Why do you think it will win? We don't know whether it will win or whether it will lose, but this one is not going to win, what we are doing currently. So that time also they trusted us, and they believed that we will pivot, and they helped us to do it. That is one. The second very difficult conversation we had was, we had to let go the team which was doing ad sales and which was actually working on the Indian part of the business. That was a very difficult moment for us, because in Amagi, everyone were treated as family. We knew from the person who was sweeping the floor what is their family doing, till the person who was the head of ad sales. And we had to let go the entire team because the whole business pivoted. So only the people who were building the technology had to remain. So that was a very, very, very hard thing for me.
And I'll just wrap before I've got the cue to open this up to audience questions as well. But if the 24-year-old Vidya who started Impulseoft was listening to our conversation today, what would she be most proud of, and what is she still looking for to be evolved?
That Vidya will be definitely proud of the software that was built, which was running the world's largest events and the world's largest shows. Definitely she'll be proud of. And what she would still complain is, why are you still slow in learning? So I still think that I'm slow in learning, so I think that person will complain.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, and would love to kind of open this up to any questions that we have from the audience.
Hi, Srividhya. It was absolutely fascinating hearing you speak. My question to you is, I'm Anuradha, by the way, just to keep familiarity. The question, I found it interesting that being a technology person who's built to very disruptive softwares that are global today, you spoke more about culture, about humanizing the entire value chain within the organization, and the importance of that. So what is your take, or what would your advice be to founders like me, for example, who are building something in the hybrid space, which is built both on, where human values and culture is equally important to also the technology that supports it. So what would your advice be to founders and investors that consistently get to hear that, how do you productize it? How do you remove the human from the loop? That's the narrative that constantly keeps coming back, right? How do you remove the human from the loop? So what would your advice be to both parties?
See, removing the human in the loop is unavoidable. It is coming. One intern came to me and said, hey, I'm very interested in working in your company. I said, fair enough, give me the resume. Then that intern told me, hey, can you please ensure that I get a job at the end of internship? I said, even my job is not guaranteed, so your job I cannot guarantee. So that's the state where we are at. So I don't think that humanizing part of it, saying that human in the loop can be removed, can be avoided. It's not because whether we want to avoid or not, it will go away in some time. But what I think the humanizing part of it that I look for is, See, all said and done, right? We have a short life. We are all working together. Are we having fun building that product? Have fun with challenges. It's actually one of Amagi's values. Are we having fun with what we are building? Are we building something for the real goodness of the country or goodness of the economy or goodness of the humankind? If not, right, it's not going to win on a larger scale. So that is something that I seriously look forward to. So as founders, I think we all should realize that this is unavoidable, right, as the technology progresses. But one thing I feel in India is that there are too many things in India which still nobody are looking at to make it, done by the machines. So if we are able to find opportunities wherein we can invest in those, right, or we can build those, that will be great. Of course, we have to invest because we cannot build everything. So.
Hi Srividhya, I'm Parita from Oman India Joint Investment Fund. Would love to get some leadership tips from you. What worked for you when you were a smaller company? How did you pivot your leadership style when the company today is now listed and has scaled up so well? Thank you.
What worked for us in a small company is that there was no middle layer. We directly worked with all the employees, right? And the employees worked with each other, and there were no great layers that were built, and life was simple, right? In fact, at one point in time, we even contemplated, should everybody's salary be put in the notice board so that there's no need to do this performance appraisal. So we hated performance appraisals, we hated titles, we hated all of those. We just wanted to do work, have fun and leave. So that's what we wanted to have. So that kind of a setting actually helps, right, in a younger age, in a smaller firm. I think as the company grew larger, right, we had to bring in people who, see, for example, I am a person who can take from -1 to 10. Means I can check whether it's -1 to 0 or 0 to 1 or 1 to probably 10. I'm not a person who can take 10 to 1,000. So it's important to build the leadership, bring the leadership who can do that and help them win. So after bringing the leadership, we should not be thinking, oh, this person didn't know that history. Yes, they will not know the history. So you need to help them to succeed. That is very important. In fact, I think when one of the events that Anjali and I were attending, someone was telling that succession planning is the most important and most difficult thing to do. Currently, we are in that stage.
Thank you.
So Srividhya, one very quick question. What is still giving you sleepless nights?
The whole challenge, as I mentioned in this media, right, is that everything has to work 24/7. Our SLA is 99.99939, so it's less than 1 second of failure you can have in channels like NBCU. So I still think that, do we have any corner cases that are left which would cause some failure? And we are running on public cloud, especially on some AWS cloud or whatever. What happens if there's some outage or if there is any other issue? So those kind of things still keep me awake. And third thing that keeps me awake is that this AI technologies, right, they are actually, you have to learn quite a bit to build the next products. So are you on the right track or not? I always feel scared.
Awesome. I think I've got the timing cue, but on that note of always learning and being a polymath, I just want to really, really thank you, Vidya, for joining us today. I know you started by saying it's the first time in a room full of women investors, but I certainly hope it's not going to be the last. Thank you once again. We really, really enjoyed this conversation. I think the best thing about you is you speak at 1.2x speed, so we can really pack a lot in. So thank you so much for joining us all the way from Bangalore this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Anjali. Your questions were very, very meaningful. Thank you.